Man, we gotta talk about this Pastor Jamal Bryant. Man, this dude is a Omega level, Terminator level, radical blue pill monolith enforcer. All right. This dude came out with some wild babble. And this babble, for the most part, that this dude came out with, you know, if this was maybe 10, 20 years ago, you know what I'm saying? Everybody would have been all about that. They would have been all about what he was saying. But it's 2024, man. And in 2024, we ain't going. Man, he came out with this nonsense, and I'm talking about social media blew down on this fool. All right, we gonna get into it. All right, but before we get into it, what I want to do is I want to show you guys. This is what I always say about how people who aggressively attack other people with these monolithic pro-black coon talking points, they're always attacking from a place of guilt. None of this stuff is ever pure. In many cases, people attack black people based on their own transgressions, and they project those transgressions onto other black people. And I don't know why, but for some reason, for a very long time, people would just accept it. They would just shake their heads and nod. Shout out to 2024, because it seems like people ain't doing it no more. So let's take a look and see what this guy had to say. And as you guys can see on one side, right, you see the thin black line in the middle. He's towing that thin black line. You gotta support a sister. You gotta support a sister. You gotta support a sister. She taught you. She raised you. Then on the other hand, I divorced because I cheated. Which means that if you cheated, then you ultimately disrespected a woman. Not only did you ultimately disrespect a woman, you ultimately disrespected your woman. You know how everybody always talks about people in terms of how people just somehow inherently have ownership over these women because they're part of the same community or because they're part of the same race or part of the same ethnicity. A YouTube talking point easily debunked, right? But when you actually marry somebody, regardless of who that is, you've signed a contract. When you marry someone, that actually is your woman. The YouTube talking points fall flat and shatter onto the floor. When you sign a business contract with the court into a partnership of marriage, that woman becomes your woman ultimately, or at least that's the implied definition of the contract. And you, by extension, become quote unquote her man. You didn't operate as her man, which means that you didn't treat her as if she was your woman. And you're blaring and yelling and screaming and attempting to shame black men, saying that black men should somehow support a quote unquote woman. For one, that's not even theirs. For two, the whole black thing is up in the air, right? And you're basically projecting the failures of your own interaction with women onto other men that you don't know for gratitude and for acceptance and for access to more women. This is game. Like I've always said, simping is a form of game.
You said something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister.
Yeah. Full stop.
And Mordecai was man enough to know that in order for me to be a man, I gotta know how to support a woman.
Listen, anytime anybody does the preachy accent, stop listening to them. Stop listening to them. Anytime they start talking like this, because there's no reason why anybody should ever start talking like this. Anytime somebody starts doing that, start tuning out. When they do that to try to get you to listen, stop listening.
Something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister.
And I want to say I am divorced because I cheated.
Mm-hmm.
I divorced because of my impulse.
Of course.
I broke.
Yeah. So just understand that when you hear a lot of these people do all of this blaring and babbling, take it with a grain of salt. And always remind them that when they decide to get so loud as to raise their voice against you, they're actually raising their voice that loud so that they can hear it, because they're talking to themselves.
That covenant. And so I had to go through a healing process for myself on what is it that was in me that would go outside of the bounds of my covenant, my agreement, and to risk my family for somebody I never wanted to be with.
You said something is wrong with.
Unbelievable. Actually, very believable. Actually, very believable. So we're going to look at another video clip with this guy because it's just so fascinating. And there's so many like him. There's so many like him. You know what I'm saying? What I need you guys to do is in the comment section, tell me everyone who you have ever heard be a walking, talking contradiction like this joke of a human being that we're looking at on the screen.
You said something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister.
Well, let's talk about quote unquote brothers that don't know how to support a sister. Again, pretty sure Kamala Harris has the highest amount of black support between the two candidates, including black male support. Pretty sure, right? So again, this is enforcement of 100% because we're already at 80%. 80% is not good enough for these type of people, right? 80% is not good enough, despite the fact that he couldn't be 100% faithful in his own relationship, never ran quality control on his own relationship. He's running quality control on the monolith. So he believes that Kamala Harris is entitled to 100% black support, black male, black female support, right? Yet this guy couldn't support his own relationship 100%. Now, expectation of 100% is what? Monolithian expectations.
Yeah. Full stop.
And Mordecai was man enough to know that in order for me to be a man, I got to know how to support a woman. Something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister. It was a sister that raised you.
So what this is saying ultimately with these receipts that we have clipped up and clipped in here is that Reverend Jamal, something's wrong with you, brother. You don't know how to support a sister.
It was a sister that taught you how to read. It was a sister that taught you how to bathe yourself.
In the context of the vice president, were you trying to send a message?
That we've got to be able to vote, that misogyny is still real in our community. We've got to address it.
How is misogyny real in a community that deifies the women? How is misogyny real in a community that deifies the women? I don't know any other community that says that, quote unquote, the women of that community are God other than the black community. God is the highest order of what you can elevate somebody to. And that is a popular belief and popular ideology amongst not every black person, but many black people. Just the simple fact that a segment of us who feel that way exists. How can you then attempt to say that, quote unquote, misogyny is pervasive, quote unquote, through our community? Absolutely ridiculous. He never ran quality control on anything that ever came out of his mouth. And neither did his congregation, clearly, because look at how they've built him up. People like this are a problem because they get built up by people. What this guy should be doing is he should be in dirty clothing under a street light with a box, babbling this nonsense with people who feel sorry for him, dropping in their change. That's what he should be doing. But instead, he's got a mega church, lots of support, and sitting here on CNN to broadcast ignorance to the rest of the world, to give us a horrible image based on his perception of himself. And we have to fight against all of this. It's ridiculous. Donald Trump talked about enemies within. Donald Trump ain't the only one that got enemies within.
It head on and not act like it doesn't exist. The reality is, if black men had voted, Stacey Abrams would be a governor.
Black men did vote. If you yourself understood math, then you would know that she got outvoted. And the reason that she lost is not because black men didn't vote for her. I don't know what's wrong with you, but you should check the Democratic voting record of black people. No Democrat has ever lost as a result of black people.
And so I think that we've got to do some real redress that after racism, the biggest ill in America is sexism. And
well, how did you address that in your own marriage? Being a womanizer and all. Pay very close attention to these radical blue pill simps. Pay very close attention to these no pillars. The reason why is because these radical blue pill simps and these no pillars, they are so unaccountable that they see the transgressions of how they destroyed their own personal relationships and they project that onto every other man. And they then take the extreme talking points and ideologies of men who don't believe like them and project that out onto those other people as if it's somehow solving a problem. The problem in your relationship, sir, was you. It was you. Stop projecting. Go get help. This is what you see with the message for the most part is all the same. It's all the same. This is another dude that doesn't want you to see reality.
I think it's part of the responsibility of this generation to deal with it head on.
I think that it's part of this generation responsibility to deal with people like you head on. And shout out to this generation, because I think that people on social media across the spectrum and a lot of different people with a lot of different ideologies are actually slowly coming towards the same conclusions about people like you. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of these tactics Barack Obama tried at first, it's not working anymore. It's not working anymore. And as critical as I can be, and, you know, as much of a downer as I can be, one thing that I can actually be very optimistic about, and I can, you know, give everybody their kudos on, is that they getting people like this up out of the paint, man. They getting them gone. And that's what's up, man. They all need to go. We need to run quality control on these fools. You know what I'm saying? We need to get the standard deviations and variances down and get these people, these type of contaminants off of the production line. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. Please make sure you drop your comments. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash that like button. Share this video out to all of your followers. And I will catch you all on the next one. All right? Peace.